The channel is SVU Nights Live. The stream is called Computer Science Week Day 2.
As far as potential options we looked at,
SVU Nights Live,
you can call,
Science Week Day 2.
you would basically format an object.
You're good.
That would
Just
have first name, last name.
just it's on YouTube.
Via an API call. That's kind of what we were looking at before. You can do the same thing with AD, like you create an object that you can import into AD via LDAP or another method. We were using, Mike and I were playing around with the LDAP library in Python.
And it should be live right now.
We just never
And then I want you to tell me how the audio is. So, just testing audio.
Right. We want to skip over the Google Doc entirely. If they want to keep using Google Docs, keep track, they can, but we want to...
It's quiet? But can you hear me on both sides? Just go ahead and double check. And then
so it's definitely working on the left. It's either really quiet or not working on the
okay, cool. That's all I needed to know. If you want to give it a shot. Yeah. I don't particularly care where you put this.
Yeah.
It's got a clip, or you can just chuck it in your pocket. Either works.
No, that's good. Should we look for at the Apple or AirPlay link here, maybe? Let's see where that would be. Sorry. It does. It only has like a Thunderbolt port here, or it has USB. If we had USB to HDMI. Here's a bunch of Apple TVs. Do you know which one I'm looking for?
Stone Mets.
Oh, there's a lot.
Yeah.
Stone Mets?
Yep.
Is that it? No. Let's try again. Stone Mets. There we go. 0918 0918. Isn't this awesome? Does it work?
Nice and easy.
It does. I think I'll plug into. Would you want me standing up front up here? Where for your camera?
Yeah. This one is centered on the TV. Yeah, but that's probably and then this one's just sort of grabbing it. Well, you can see.
Yeah, okay, got it. This is cool. Got a good setup.
So we'll be live streaming and recording it, and we'll probably upload a version of it.
as we were being is it
Possible.
we were just in there.
Send me your files.
This is what we switched.
What I'd like to do is I'd like to get it recorded.
You can attach those to the recording or something?
Slides through.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea. Let's do that right now.
You can't really see it great through the.
Yeah, they're probably grainy. It's probably pretty grainy. Okay, so hang on one sec. All right, there's new.
My email is just.
One sec. Send this from my Gmail, and here we go too.
Malachi, MALACHI.
Yep.
.J. .CALD. WELL.
Hyphen.
ANDREWS. At SVU.edu.
Malachi.J.Caldwell-Andrews at SVU.edu.
Yep. It is
McKinley.
a very long name.
That's all good.
Free to go, but also I was
I will try, I actually am going to try to wrap up in about 30 minutes, and then I'm going to open up for Q&A. So if you guys want to sit in 30 minutes, you're welcome to, and if you have to leave, leave, you know, for class.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what class are you guys going to? Discrete math. Discrete math? Ah, of course, it's the one comp sci class that's not really a comp sci class. I wish it was.
Oh, it's comp sci.
It is it's something that all comp sci people are required to take, but it's not actually a comp sci class.
No, I got it.
It's a math
Just,
class. But then you get situations like this where all the comp sci department has like planned for this. And so I think anyone who has comp sci classes during this time don't have classes because they're here.
I wish they listed under both math and computer science, because I didn't even know that it was like required class until like I tried to take a computer science class. I'm like, oh, you need discrete mathematics.
I mean, part of the thing is like discrete math really has like, there's discrete math for math majors and discrete math for computer science majors.
Yeah.
But we don't have the resources for that. And so we do
blended.
Is a mix of trying to get as much of a whole.
Can you talk for a second? Just like
Happy to test it, see if you can hear. Testing 1, 2. Oh, you got pretty good bars there, right?
Yeah.
Testing 1, 2, 3. So you're doing blended discrete math.
Yes.
What is this device? An air filter.
Yes. We have a bunch of air filters. It was a COVID thing. I don't think they actually work that well as far as fighting COVID. I don't know why we have them, but there is one in every single room. So,
We're probably breathing less molecules. Whether they're healthy or unhealthy, I don't know.
An old house. It's rid of the old house molecules.
yeah, that's fair. It does in fact even
All that dust.
Oh, it's more than just us, my friend. I wish it was just us.
We have one in the Tucson house, like the art building. Oh yeah. It's like ceramics. And it's horrible. It's like all the clay dust gets like sucked up by it. Like you'd have to change it like daily for it to actually be useful because it's just got so much.
So are you guys students? Not.
I'm
Who's
not.
teaching?
I graduated.
Graduated.
Not a student.
What are you studying?
Computer science.
CS.
Yeah,
Awesome.
so-
How far into the program are you?
I'm the only one who's not a student.
Okay.
I'm a full-time member in IT, and I'm in charge of the student development program, and I'm also the cloud engineer. But I'm also a student, so.
You're doing all of that.
Yeah, I think it's possible.
And Malachi, where are you from?
Yeah. Well,
Same.
I should be. Yeah.
Okay, so these guys are actually ahead of me, but you're not in my program yet.
No.
Hopefully. But he's applying, these two are in my program. It's fun.
What's your program? What does that mean? The Malachi program.
Just the student developer program.
Student developer program, helping on the systems for the.
So,
We have to stick.
I saw you guys working on some Salesforce stuff there, right?
so we're doing automated account creation for our AD, Azure, and Google accounts. So that way when a student comes in, we don't have one of our members in IT going and making each account, which can become, it's a lot of work. So
Is that what you wanted to do for the software engineering project? Because
yes,
I remember you
that's
saying
that's what I wanted to do for the software engineering project.
But the school wouldn't let us.
School,
So tell me names and where you guys are from.
So I'm John Porter.
John.
I'm basically from
Sort of from where?
Well, I'm pretty much from here. I was technically born in Utah, but I wasn't even a year old when we came here.
Yeah.
So,
What brought your family here?
teaching.
The school?
Yep.
SVU?
Yep. My dad's one of the Spanish professors.
Oh, nice.
Although I believe he's retired.
So you have been raised in Buena Vista.
Yep.
Very neat.
And I still don't know all of campus. No.
Yeah. So John and
James.
James.
For the presentation.
Where are you from?
I'm from Massachusetts.
Mass. The Boston area or
Yeah. Kind of like central Massachusetts.
Central?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you get paid for it.
It's good. And you're a junior?
I'm a senior.
Senior in CS.
And music.
Music and computer science. Great fit. Great fit. Come sit down. Come sit down. Lots of seats. Everybody's in the 30-minute gang.
I'm the only one here not in discrete math. math. Because
You're all discrete mathers.
you don't count Yoshi. Yoshi's not real.
Yeah, no.
Did you consider, I'm sorry, it's James. Did you consider, what other schools did you consider besides SVU?
When I was for
When you were looking, yeah.
BYU and the University of Utah.
And what made you decide to come here?
Well, first off, I wasn't thinking about computer science. It was just like for music, and there were a lot of opportunities for music, and there still are. So I
Yeah.
was like, okay.
So that was interesting, right? It was a fit between me. No, you can get into music. Are you performing?
Yeah,
Vocal?
music performance, piano performance.
Piano? My son that was a piano performance major.
Scott McKinley here on campus with us for Computer Science Week. He is formerly at Amazon Web Services. I think he's going to go into a little more detail about his career, but so I will just turn it over to him.
Thanks so much. It's great to be here. So first of all, computer science is kind of a topic near and dear to my heart. Yes, I had a programming class in university level, but I was not a computer science major. I was one of those weird and wonderful liberal arts majors. I studied international relations, foreign languages, political science, and then promptly did not go into a career with the State Department or the CIA or any of those folks. But I'll talk a little bit about myself today, and I've gotten to know a few of you just quickly, and it's pretty nice to be here. I served on the board here for about 9 years as a member of the Board of Trustees, and really, really enjoyed that a lot. So let me move along quickly, because I know some of you guys have a hard stop for your discrete math class. I came from a small town, not Bedford, Virginia. I grew up in Bedford, Pennsylvania. That's not too far north of you, just across what's called the Mason-Dixon line that separates the state of Maryland and the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. I've studied at a bunch of universities. I've started out at the Air Force Academy and then progressed across to BYU. I studied, did a master's degree at NYU. I took some classes at UCLA. And I started a doctoral program at Northeastern University. I've been married a long time, almost 4 decades, to one woman. That's been a great blessing in my life. And we've raised 6 children. We lived in 6 countries over 18 years internationally. And coming from a small 3-stoplight town in Pennsylvania, I never would have imagined that, but somehow internally there was sort of this gene that wanted to get out. I knew there was a really big world out there, and somehow combination of a number of things came together to make that a reality. All 6 of those kids were born outside the United States, so not too different than my friend here from Oita, Japan. And some of those countries you can see where we lived, in Hong Kong, Singapore, Thailand, Malaysia, and had a couple of different stints out in that part of the world, but also lived in England. I enjoy all sports. If it's a ball, a bat, if it goes around in circles, whatever, I love it. I particularly chase this little white thing around hundreds of yards of courses called golf. I enjoy that a lot. And I live in one of the larger golf meccas in the country near Hilton Head, South Carolina. So not too far from you guys here. I'm a crazy BYU fan. I mean, I can tell you pretty much the stats and the numbers on the BYU Cougars at any given time. And I'm very worried about a game that's coming up on Saturday, of course. Chocolate for me is always the right answer, like always. So a little bit of photo montage of the McKinley clan. Our youngest daughter was adopted from Vietnam. That was the only foolproof method I knew to get a second daughter. And that was kind of the goal when we started our family. So we had a daughter and then 4 failed experiments called boys. And then I finally ran onto the field. I called timeout. And we went with the foolproof method of getting our youngest daughter, Rachel. She was a student here at SVU for a brief period of time. And she's just about to graduate from Brigham Young University in communications and PR. And the rest of the gang is sort of represented there. This little guy's a grandson, and we've got a few of those running around as well. Professionally, after an MBA program at New York University, I went to work in London in management consulting and strategy consulting. And that job was not the result of me sending off 500 resumes. I literally sat beside an airplane. I had a summer internship. And on the airplane, I went on an assignment to London, which is kind of crazy to be an intern and be asked to go to attend a trade show in London, but I did. And on the plane on the way home, the guy sitting next to me was a partner at an international consulting firm, and that's what I wanted to do after business school. So I got a 6-hour interview with the founding partner, and that resulted in that one thing led to another. That led to me getting a job back in London in consulting, and I did that for a while, and then I moved into financial services, and I worked in what's called both public, meaning public investing, and private equity or venture capital for one of the major banks, JP Morgan Chase. And then about 20 years ago, I shifted from sort of a money-focused career to more of a mission, passion, impact-focused career, and I've spent the last nearly 20 years in education and training and trying to figure out ways to close what we call the skills gap. Don't have time today to go into a ton of that, but I'll show you what the gap looks like later. I was a co-founder and CEO of a university that specialized in computer science. Really what you guys should think of as software engineering, software development was the main focus there, not not coding, not science, but really, how do we produce a graduate that can hit the ground running? And I hope all of you guys are getting ready to hit the ground running. I led the acquisition of family-owned universities in Asia and higher education. Pretty interesting to buy a university. Who knew a university would change hands? But they do. Just like SVU changed hands many years ago from Southern Seminary, I think was the original name. And then a group of LDS business folks came in and decided it would be awesome to have an LDS-focused institution on the East Coast. And I've also served as a dean and regional chief executive of Northeastern University's graduate campus in Seattle. Guess what the main curriculum there was? Computer science and information systems. Hundreds of students in those programs. The last 4 years, I've been at Amazon Web Services, which is the cloud computing arm of the Amazon, and have been building a global higher education program where we work with universities and students around the world to get them upskilled in cloud computing. That's a lot of background, and you see some of the logos and names represented there. Again, just to share with you guys very openly, like, given the small town that I came from and sort of the framework and the environment and the mindset of the folks that I grew up with, none of that would be even in the remote realm of possibility. Most of my high school class would not have moved more than 100 miles from my hometown, maybe 300 miles. But once you get beyond that, out of my 250 students in our graduating class, I bet not more than 5 of them had somewhat similar experiences to this. And that does make me, it makes me, I guess, just our lives can be guided and directed in all sorts of interesting directions. It's largely about us. It's about, what do you want for your career? What do you want for your life? You get to make a lot of those choices and hopefully get some help. So what happened next? This slide isn't intended to jolt you, but I have to tell you that sometimes in life, when you're on the way to where you think you're going, other things happen, right? Think COVID, right? No one planned for that. No one expected that. No one could have imagined that. But in my life, I've had some recent interesting experiences. One, we all lived through COVID, and you get to the end of COVID, and you say, all right, wow, we're just finally getting through COVID, and then I discovered that I had prostate cancer. So that's really a shocker to the system, guys, right? Having said that, if you're a guy and you have to get some form of cancer, you probably want to start with prostate cancer, right? Not start with it, but just start and finish with it, because it is curable. It can be contained. And so I'm on a path to recovery, which is great. And then you say, well, and you retire happy, question mark. Like, what does retirement look like for a guy like me that's had 35 years plus of experience all around the world and done what I've done? Like, do I just stop and just play golf? Probably not. Probably not, right? So, just kidding about the retirement part. So, what am I doing now? Well, I'm starting companies. I'm staying involved in this education to employment space that I've spent a lot of the last 20 years of my life, because I care a lot about the fact that our employment market is fundamentally very dysfunctional. In this country today, we have about 10 million jobs open, and we have about 10 million people unemployed and a lot more underemployed. Imagine that. Think about any other market where supply meets demand, and supply is not meeting demand. So we have some fundamental problems in our employment market in the United States. And so a lot of the things I'm involved with have to do with that. So I just founded a group called McKinley Hodge Group. We're doing executive recruiting of cloud talent. So another partner and I, we had about 10 years of experience at Amazon, and us and our 120,000 of our BFFs from Amazon we're looking to help those individuals find roles in cloud computing elsewhere. And I'm on the board. I chair the board of the University of Silicon Valley. That's a digital creative media school on the West Coast that is WASC, regionally accredited. It's a small school, but it's been around over 100 years. It has over 100 plus years of history in San Jose. It's based in San Jose, California. Think game art, animation, game design, game engineering, and audio engineering are their specialties. And I love serving on that board. We have some of Silicon Valley's preeminent innovators on the board with me. I feel really fortunate to chair that board. And this is an interesting little company called Personabilities. If you guys want to go to personabilities.com, you can take a free assessment. Sort of like, think of Enneagram or Myers-Briggs, if any of you have heard of those. This is a little bit of a next generation version of that uses machine learning and uses some very sophisticated psychology to help you understand who you are. So you're all welcome to go and take the assessment. It's a 12-minute quick assessment to go through that.
What's that called again? I didn't see the PA.
PA stands for person abilities.
If I search on PA, I'm going to Pennsylvania.
Yeah, you're not, yeah, just personabilities.com. Thanks for asking. I should have put it up there. A couple of the other companies where I'm serving as a board member advisor are also in this same education to employment space. So that's too much about me. In the time we have remaining, I'm going to keep looking at my thing. Oh, we got 15 minutes. That's good. I know I'm talking quickly, but I'm sensitive to the fact that you guys got a hard stop for your discrete math class. So too much about it. Let's talk about the future. This might be one of the more important slides in my presentation. Amazon Web Services, not an old company, part of Amazon, which also is not an old company. It's gone from 0 to a run rate, what we call a run rate. It's running at about a $50 billion revenue clip right now. And it's the market leader in cloud by quite a long way. And all due respect to a couple of the other cloud providers, these guys have done extremely well. Cloud computing. Does anybody want to try to throw a quick definition out for cloud computing? When we say cloud computing, how would you describe it in like 10, 15 words or less? What does it do? Anybody know?
Basically, you're running your programs on a server somewhere else that's handling and specializing in working with, just running other people's programs, so you don't have to have all of the equipment and servers.
It's a good start. So your storage, your computing power, your networking, and even your software can all be owned and resident someplace else. And then you just do the super cool stuff that you want to do, which mostly has to do with innovating for clients, for customers, right? It's that client-facing piece. You get to control the architecture. And the other way I described it to your provost in an earlier meeting today was, think of cloud computing like a utility. What if you had an like a big electric company, and you could use the power anytime you want to? You only pay for what you use with water and electricity generally, right? And it's infinitely available. And the last concept would apply to a utility company as well to some extent. It's highly secure, right? Somebody is obsessing about the security of your data. Highly partitioned, highly protected. Think NSA level security, constantly 24/7. And as Travis was saying at a meeting earlier today, it's also widely distributed. So the data isn't only sitting in one data center in Washington, D.C. It can be distributed. Think about it almost like the web. The data is sitting any place you want it to be. And it's not sitting anywhere you don't want it to be. You have complete control over that. But for redundancy and backup purposes, highly redundant, highly secure, instantly available, infinite capacity, storage, computing, networking capacity. So cloud powers everything. You guys know that, right? These phones, all streaming, all Netflix, name a service. It's probably powered by the cloud today. Many, many things now are born natively in the cloud. They started their architecture and their platforms using cloud from day one. That's easy to do when you're a startup. It's not easy to do when you're a bank with 80,000 servers and you're running 500 main applications plus another 3,000 applications, right? That's hard. That takes years to pivot. We're talking about changing the direction of a really big ocean freighter. Expert tip, CapEx versus OpEx. We're going to go into some accounting here for just a second, but this is super important. In a pre-cloud world, we all had to have our own servers, our own storage farm, our own applications. We licensed them or we built them, right? Guess what, guys? That costs a lot of money, and that tends to be operating capital. We had to spend millions of dollars, in some cases hundreds of millions of dollars, to support and stand up that data center. And it had to be redundant for fire and earthquake, right? It had to be super secure. I don't know if you guys have anybody seen some of these guys I know in the back have any of you actually seen a data center? Right? Like they're raised above the ground, the floor is raised, they've got fire retardant systems, all that stuff. Sometimes they have double or triple walls, right, for protection. It's pretty cool, right? So imagine all of that investment That's called CapEx. Somebody has to write the check today. And then you get to utilize that big chunk of investment over 5-10 year period of time, right? But what if it was variable, right? Variable expense, so that you could just use it, again, like a utility company. That's the benefit of cloud. You'll hear the term hybrid cloud. What are we talking about there? Anybody know? Travis, I'll put you on the spot. What do we mean by hybrid quickly?
Hybrid cloud is both the public cloud offering like AWS and your on-premise data center. So here at the university, it would be a combination of AWS and our little data room that we have.
Yeah, and the university, I think, uses Salesforce, so that's probably sitting out there somewhere hosted on a cloud, and yet you have your own data center here at the university as well. So there's a little bit of those concepts. Eventually, I think the term hybrid will be awesomely cool for about 10 years, and then it will start to fade out, because as companies increasingly go cloud native, or they fully pivot across to the cloud, there won't be so much hybrid going on anymore. So I'm joking about it a little bit here, but I wanted to just review that because the cloud is big. If this were a 9-inning baseball game, I think we're probably late second, early third inning of the game. So don't feel like, oh, I've missed the whole wave. This thing is going to just be a fly-by-night. It'll be gone, and then the next new thing. Yes, there always will be a next new thing in technology, but the cloud is still a pretty big wave, and it has a long way to roll out. So what does that mean for jobs? Some of you that are seniors, and maybe even a few others, are saying, okay, does this have any implication for me? Well, let's look at some data. Job postings for cloud roles increased 42% over the prior 3 years on Indeed.com. 245,000 new tech jobs. A lot of those will be in two categories, cloud and cybersecurity. There's always going to be a need for core application developers, just so you know that. That's just a given. 5.6 million jobs listed on LinkedIn, of which 350,000 specifically say cloud. And I don't think those are weathermen, right? I think that's cloud. All right, over here, you're not imagining it. Amazon AWS wants to hire all your friends, enemies, and everyone in between. While I was there in 4 years, Amazon went from about 500,000 employees to 1.3 million employees. And they were not all in the warehouse, in the fulfillment centers. It was across the board. Amazing, amazing amount of hiring went on. And yet we have the Great Resignation, right? It's real. It's really the great discontent. There's a lot of factors that are driving and churning in the workforce right now. All it means for you that are sitting at this table, double thumbs up. Like you pick, you're going to win the lottery if you do well and work hard and learn the skills that you need. Jobs. So I'm going to finish in the last couple minutes here. Let's just do another time check. Yeah, I'm going to finish. You're at an institution that I served on the board, as I mentioned, for about 9 years. I happen to believe this institution is inspired. I believe it's here for a purpose. It's here to educate. It's also here to prepare you for your life's work, right? And so if we set aside the tech for a second and we just go really personal, let me just share a couple last thoughts with you. One, these are the things I think that matter. I think people matter a lot. And sometimes in our tech world, we get a little bit isolated. We're focused on this new cool tech, whatever it is. But I will tell you that people in your lives matter a lot. Great books matter. Notwithstanding digital and everything going digital and streaming, I still believe that a few great books matter. I'm going to show you some of the books that matter to me. Purpose matters a lot. One of the reasons why the Great Resignation and there's so much discontent is because employers don't seem to be able to connect the purpose and the intent of what they're doing professionally with people right here. It's not about the wallet, always. For you guys, you're thinking, yeah, it's about money, money, money. I get that. You're going to want to be well paid. You will be well paid. You will be fine financially when you graduate. All of you, I promise you. Right? But once you move beyond a certain threshold, it's actually about purpose. And then finally, faith matters. Why, people matter. What people? Well, it's family, friends, it's random mentors, mentees, professional colleagues. If I look back over my entire career, I can tell you it was that guy sitting next to me. His name was James. Got two Jameses here today. His name was James on the airplane who was the co-founder of a management consulting firm. That led to my first major break professionally. That led to me working internationally in London, which had been part of my DNA, something I had wanted to do, right? So the people you meet, you'll think that they're random, but there is a divine coincidence. There is a divine dimension to the people you meet, both here at school and in your faith life and in your family and in your professional life. It's not random, guys. There actually is a divine organization to it. If your eyes are open and you can see it. That's happened to me. That guy sitting beside me in the plane, that's happened to me more times than I can count. It's why we're here on the planet, to connect with people, to learn and serve and grow, and that's actually not possible without people that are almost put in our pathway, right? Sometimes we don't recognize them, sometimes we don't see them. We just carry on sort of almost blindly. But I'm telling you, if you keep your eyes open, you'll find people who you can both help and who will help you on your journey. So what people matter. Great books matter. Some of you might recognize a few of these. I bet there's someone you don't recognize at all, especially my little book. I had an itch to become an author, to write my own book. I wrote a book called Viking Values. It's about 7 core values that I think great organizations espouse as they're building their companies. This is a great book. Get a Grip it's worth more than an MBA, I can tell you. It's about how to organize a great business and company. Call It Courage was a book I read as a little kid about a little boy that sailed in the South Pacific Islands and had a lot of courage. James Clavell, Noble House, that's all about Asia and Hong Kong and the rise of the Asian powers. And it's a fiction book, but incredibly fun book. And there was a major movie. Some of you guys might recognize that book, the Book of Mormon. Right? I've read that thing a number of times. I can tell you that it is a life-changing book. Great books matter. Try to always have something on your laptop or in your hand that is educating you and lifting you up. And right now you're saying, I got too many books, Scott, like I've got a stack of them. I get that. There'll come a time in your life where you'll think, well, I'm done with school and now I'm just going to do the work and family thing or whatever. I just find that people that are really interesting to spend time with are constantly learning. Be a lifelong learner. Great books matter. Purpose matters. I mentioned this on the disconnect in The Great Resignation. The reason people are stepping out of work is because they're frustrated that the companies they're working for are not connecting with them on purpose. Try to find a career and a job where you connect passion with purpose and something that you feel like you're pretty good at, that you can excel at. And finally, faith matters. I'm going to finish by sharing just a couple of favorite inspirational quotes in the limited time we have. But one, this came from a movie. I don't know why. I like movies. I'm a moviegoer. So there was a movie called The Paris 1517. I think Clint Eastwood was the director, if I'm not mistaken. And this quote came from that. Once you begin to discover who you are, then you realize how you have been given authority over your own life. But you can only come to understand that through the struggle of life. And most people are born to struggle. We struggle, right? Because most people go through life avoiding pain, right? So we find all sorts of coping mechanisms. That's what this is talking about. We find all sorts of coping mechanisms to deal with things that we just don't want to go to deal with, right? When you begin facing your pain and working on your dream, at some point in time, a transition takes place. You learn how to leap higher. You start challenging yourself to dig deeper. An inner strength that you never activated comes to life. That happens academically, right? You thought, I'm going to flunk this first computer science class. I chose this as my major. I'm not going to get through this course. And suddenly there's some transition that takes place, right? Now that's a quote I like. Time for one more. This is one of my favorites. This is anonymous, by the way, but it was quoted by a general authority years ago named Marion D. Hanks. To believe in God is to know that all the rules are fair. That's actually faith. It says no, but what it really means is to believe that all the rules are fair. In the church, we don't have answers for lots of things yet. But I have faith. I'm confident that in 1,000 years, in 1,000,000 years, in a long-term perspective, we'll actually get the answers we want. In the meantime, I also happen to believe that there will be wonderful surprises. My grandkids are in the wonderful surprise category. I had no idea as a dad what it will be like to have grandkids. They rock. They are awesome. They're cute. You play with them, you get to hand them back to mom and dad. They're amazing, wonderful surprises. I want you to think about this just a little bit. Think about things that cause you concern, that cause your faith to maybe doubt sometimes. Just put it in context. No, have faith that all the rules are fair and that ultimately God has your best interest. And finally, this is one of my favorites as well. Everything will be all right in the end. And if it's not all right, it's not the end yet. Take the long-term perspective on your own individual lives, on your faith, on your relationships. Just keep at it. Keep at it. Right? And, you know, given what the last year or so of my life has been like, I can tell you guys, I just sort of hang on to this stuff. It's pretty important stuff. And I think it can help you get through some challenging times in your lives as well. So I hope this has been helpful. I kind of hit that 30-minute mark, so I know there's the hard stoppers. Thank you for being here. Anyone wants to stay back and do a Q&A or go a little deeper on things, I'm happy to do that too, but otherwise we'll finish up. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Take care, guys.
I walked in a little late, so I was going to
It's all right. I'm
introduce
Scott.
myself.
Hi.
I'm Justin.
Hi, Justin.
Hope I
What's your
didn't
last
miss a
name?
whole lot. Johnson.
No, you didn't miss much at all.
Johnson.
Great. Are you a CS major?
Yep.
Great. What year? Yeah, then we can open up for Q&A. Yeah.
Q&A.
Yeah. Yeah. Hang on. Yeah.